We are all concerned about how our children will learn to control their emotions. After all, our feelings frequently lead us astray and into trouble. Naturally, we need to occasionally just say no. Kids can't throw their food at each other or run into the street. However, restricting children's emotions is not required if we restrict their behavior. In point of fact, we are unintentionally making it more difficult for our child to learn how to control his emotions if we do not allow him to become upset. This is due to the fact that, regardless of whether you allow it, you are unable to control your child's uproar. Your child will still be upset even if you tell him not to cry. It will only send him the message that his feelings are scary or shameful, so he should try to hide them. Unfortunately, when people suppress their feelings, they lose control of those feelings. As a result, they let loose unchecked, which causes the child to lash out or act out. When our child seems completely out of control, it's this dysregulation that scares parents. However, we do not allow children's emotions to cause dysregulation. When they feel like they aren't allowed to express their feelings, they become dysregulated. As a result, they attempt to reduce the emotion instead. That might work right now, but it makes kids anxious, demanding, and naive. And eventually, those repressed feelings that are no longer under conscious control rise to the surface and explode, leading to even more out-of-control behavior. Therefore, denying our feelings or judging ourselves unfairly for having them does not assist us in controlling them. Here are a few parenting tips for emotional regulation in children. Model self-regulation. This indicates that we resist our own individual torments, such as yelling. Instead, to settle down, we use a parent timeout. If our child is too young for us to leave the room, we try to process as much as we can during other times so that we can remain calm with our children. Then, in the heat of the moment, we slow down and accept responsibility for how we express our feelings. Children, after all, learn from us. They learn to yell when we yell at them. They learn to speak with respect when we speak to them. Your child is learning emotional regulation every time you demonstrate to them how to control your anger without acting out. Self-regulation will help you naturally develop emotional regulation in children. Please be aware that I am not suggesting that you suppress your feelings or stuff yourself. That would only make it more difficult to manage them. I'm urging you to manage your emotions in a responsible manner by acknowledging and accepting your feelings without acting. Your ability to control your emotions is bolstered each time you do that. We are attempting to teach children emotional regulation precisely in this manner. Naturally, we must also serve as examples. Not yet perfect? Don't stress. The majority of us continue to work on this. In fact, it is a lifetime's worth of work. Simply continue moving in the right direction. Prioritize a deep nurturing connection. By being soothed by their parents, babies develop the neural wiring necessary to soothe themselves. However, even older children need to feel connected to us in order to maintain emotional control. After calming ourselves, the most important thing we can do when we notice that our child is becoming dysregulated is to try to reconnect. Many instances of misbehavior are avoided when children have the impression that we are on their side, even when we have to say no. Accept your child's feelings, even when they are inconvenient. When empathy becomes our go-to response, our child learns that negative emotions are not harmful and can be accepted and processed as they arise, rather than stuffing them where they only get worse. She doesn't have to yell to be heard because she knows someone else understands. She also begins to develop resilience when our assistance teaches her that she can endure negative emotions and that the sun will rise again the following day. Kids learn to control their emotions in this way. Make it easy to talk about emotions. According to research, when we talk about our own feelings, acknowledge others, and ask questions about those of others, we help children develop emotional intelligence. The infant in the stroller is wailing, "I'm curious, what's wrong? What do you believe he requires?" Is it necessary to teach children words to express their feelings? Yes, it confirms their experience and aids in comprehension of others. However, labeling emotions when a child is in a rage only serves to analyze the child, and talking about anything takes the child out of her heart and into her head, making it more difficult to work through the emotions. Instead, in those trying times, concentrate on simply acknowledging your child's feelings and showing compassion, even if you have to control what your child does. Limit your child's actions as necessary. We want to create a secure environment where the child can express their feelings. However, this does not mean that we ever allow them to hit us or break things. Even when they are thinking clearly, we are all aware that children are not yet capable of making all of their own life decisions. It is not surprising that they do and say things that they will later regret. If your child tries to hit you, just move away. Hold his hands if necessary to prevent him from hitting, but do so sparingly. Also, keep in mind that rage only grows when it feels heard. Most of the time, your child won't need to hit you to show you how upset they are. If you can acknowledge that, you can see how angry they are and understand why they are upset. Model repair and care. Your irate child is just a hurting, very young human being, not a bad person. Kids can't control their emotions because they can't at the time. Teaching him to be polite is not appropriate at this time. Your child will feel safe enough to surface, feel, and express the tears and fears that are driving his rage and behavior if you are compassionate. If you can make him feel safe enough to feel those fears and tears, they will go away, along with his anger and outbursts. Later, when everyone is calm, it is always helpful to talk about what happened with your child, not to criticize or lecture, but rather to apologize, empathize with them, and re-establish connection. We started yelling because we were also upset. However, that is not the way to resolve conflicts with a loved one. I apologize for my outburst. I am aware that your actions and words must have also caused you such anguish. I'm now prepared to hear what made you upset. Shouldn't you tell your child that they can't yell at you or do anything else that makes you angry? Sure enough. But until they feel heard, they can't take that in. Therefore, wait until you have first listened and offered comprehension. After that, you could say something like, "I see why you were so upset that you yelled at me. However, you are aware that you will never need to shout to get my attention. I will always pay attention and try to assist." Your child will almost certainly apologize as a result of this mutual understanding, and they will be much more motivated to express themselves without yelling in the future. Guide behavior but resist the urge to punish. Children do not receive the assistance they require to learn how to control their emotions through spanking, timeouts, consequences, or shaming. In point of fact, the message that children receive is that the feelings that led them to misbehave are bad. As a result, children's emotional backpacks become even more stuffed with negative feelings as they attempt to suppress those feelings. One of the reasons that punishment actually leads to more misbehavior is that your child lashes out because the feelings keep coming out of their emotional backpack, looking for a way to heal. Emotion coaching and loving guidance can help your child process their emotions rather than punishing them. Act like the grown-up. Kids don't feel safe in our homes if we can't take charge, set appropriate boundaries, and set a positive tone. They begin putting in a lot of effort to take charge themselves because they are concerned that we won't be able to meet their emotional needs. Children become bossy and insistent for a variety of reasons. They stop coming to us with their tears and fears, which is even worse for their development. Given their vulnerability, they don't believe us. They develop a chip on their shoulder because they must maintain their defenses. As a result, they are unable to unwind and focus on age-appropriate developmental tasks, also known as learning to resolve conflicts with peers and attempting novel activities. By committing to being a calm, emotionally generous parent who sets empathic limits and models emotional intelligence, the solution to this attitude is to help the child feel safe. Kids raised in this manner learn to control their emotions because they have a healthy emotional life, not because they have been told not to feel, or that they should be punished or shamed for feeling them. They discover that emotions aren't bad, in fact, they're a natural part of being human. Emotions begin to fade when you allow yourself to feel. In most cases, we are not in control of how we feel, but we are always in control of how we behave. Is this a lot of work for the parents? Absolutely. However, what better motivation than your love for your child to grow? In addition, if you are still working on self-control, you will be pleased to learn that your children will almost certainly be better at emotion management than you are. That's all for now. Take care of your health and your inner world. Don't forget to subscribe and like. See you in the next videos.